My name's Omar. I incorporated Faraday Drinks Ltd in November 2018 after I graduated from the University of Bradford in mechanical engineering. Whilst I was at University of Bradford, I took my inspiration from my business idea. I found energy drinks were fizzy, filled with artificial ingredients, high in sugar content, and served in cans that you couldn't reseal. And the energy drinks I drank were not very good for you. And the ones that were natural, that I could find, you could tell that they compromised on taste. After I graduated, I got to work with starting Faraday and worked multiple jobs to be able to fund the venture. We launched the first version in July 2020 and sold out thanks to Amazon. And that was a different product. It was a raspberry rose flavoured energy drink in an aluminium bottle that you could reseal. And the whole purpose of the first production run was to attain lots of feedback from customers, what they really thought. And Amazon was a great way to be able to attain that feedback and make sales at the same time. So we took all that feedback we got from customers, the positive and the negative, and we got to work on a big rebrand phase. Pleased to say I've been mentored by the former Carlsberg CEO. He then introduced me to his friend, who was the former marketing director of Carlsberg. And kind of the three of us would have these kind of weekly Zoom calls starting from late 2020. And it would just be this whole idea of, right, let's go on a big rebrand phase of Faraday and see what your existing product is like and see what the new one should be like, and thinking about what you want to stand for as a brand. Then we realized we want to stand for natural, sustainable and inspiring is what we want to stand for. So then it was all about, how can we communicate that in the packaging of the new version compared to the old version, which we felt didn't communicate those values very well. So I knew whatever Faraday was going to be, it had to be resealable. So the first version was an aluminium bottle, but we found that, very expensive for us to produce, very expensive for the customer, and a bit over-engineered solution. Also, people complain that the caps took forever to open. The new version of Faraday is going to be using this resealable technology, which is really cool. Essentially, you pull the tab, you slide it, you take a sip, and then pop it back, closed. It's a bit of a game changer and it's an innovative solution. The new version of Faraday is going to be implementing that technology, and this new version communicates our values far better of natural, sustainable, inspiring. It's convenient, and this new version is actually zero sugar now. So when I got to working on the new version, I got back into my kitchen because I make the recipe with my own hands, and taking all that feedback from customers from the first version, I asked how we could improve it. And what we found was, raspberry rose I thought was a great combination. And while some customers really enjoyed the flavour, many also actually said that rose was a divisive flavour and that we should potentially change it from raspberry rose to raspberry cherry. And this was backed by the polls we did on our social media. We were very keen to hear feedback, whether it was positive or negative. It was going to help us grow. I guess the whole purpose of the first run was just to attain that feedback and make sales at the same time. So we took all that feedback and I got back into the kitchen and made the new recipe, and that was this raspberry cherry, zero sugar, caffeinated water with only natural ingredients, energizing, vitamin-enriched merits. And because it was no sugar, I knew I needed something to sweeten it, otherwise the taste would be very bland. And rather than use an artificial sweetener like sucralose or aspartame that many drinks use, we were using stevia, which is a natural sweetener from the stevia plant. It took me about 5 months to get the new recipe right, and whilst I was getting the new recipe right, I was still making sales of the old version. And finally I got the recipe to a point where I really enjoy it, and it's zero sugar, raspberry cherry, caffeinated, similar caffeine to Red Bull, with nothing artificial inside it, and only 15 calories in the entire 330ml serving. The right energy drink is important for a student. So energy drinks contain caffeine, and caffeine is a stimulant. It helps reduce tiredness and fatigue. Now, the problem with energy drinks are they are high with artificial ingredients and sugar content. And the ones that are zero sugar actually have artificial sweeteners inside them, like sucralose. Whereas Faraday is not only is zero sugar, but it's got a natural sweetener inside it, nothing artificial. And the fact that we're offering a still and a fizzy version is actually a first. It's something that our competitors don't do. So in September, we're going to be launching 5,000 cans. 2,500 will be, half essentially will be fizzy and half will be still. We found that half the people like still and half the people like carbonated. So we made the decision to go with half carbonated and half still. And it'll be really interesting to see where the sales go for us in September, if there's a certain preference towards still or carbonated, or it might be a very, very fine balance, as we found in our social media polls. I'm a key networker because I know that meeting the right person can open all sorts of doors. As the proverb says, if you want to go quick, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. And I know that the right person can open all sorts of doors for me. And there's always synergies. It's almost like you benefit both parties. They benefit from you and you benefit from them. So I'm always keen to explore things like that. So in August, I got busy on LinkedIn and used it to my advantage. So I found that someone had recently left the position of a CEO of Carlsberg UK. So I tried my luck essentially with them by sending them a connection request, but I made sure that it was a personalized connection request. I did not just send the connect button. I sent a personalized invite, asked them to connect with me. I told them why I wanted to connect with them. I informed them about my workings. And not only did they accept my connection request, but they suggested that we have a phone call, and then it led to them taking me under their wing and essentially mentoring me and providing me strategic support. Halfway through, the former Carlsberg CEO introduced me to the former marketing director of Carlsberg, who was an associate of his. And the three of us would have weekly Zoom calls on doing a big rebrand phase of Faraday, critiquing the old version, understanding what we stand for as a brand, and working with a designer to create the new version of Faraday, which better communicated our values. And that happened whilst I was developing the recipe in my kitchen, and all these things were happening in tandem, really, and they continue to mentor me. Faraday is from Michael Faraday, the British inventor responsible for electromagnetism. So I thought it was great to name it after a British inventor, and also like the name Faraday. I could already imagine people say stuff like, you know, enjoy your day with Faraday. I could already imagine people saying that when I started the company. And the fact that the name wasn't taken in the UK or the USA was all the excuse I needed to call it Faraday. So we landed the UK and US trademarks, and I guess I've not looked back ever since. The pandemic has obviously been terrible for people on a personal level, but from a business level, the pandemic has practically saved us. And the simple reason is we landed the bounce back loan last year in mid-2020, and that's enabled us to stay afloat. That's enabled us to continue our research and development activities. It's enabled us to invest in this rebrand phase, and it's going to also allow us to go ahead with our second production run in September and get the right investors on board. So I attended a webinar and I was informed that the webinar would talk about grants in the Yorkshire region for food and drink businesses. And upon attending the webinar, I learned that there was a body that was willing to fund Yorkshire-based drink businesses for their R&D activities. So we were very fortunate to receive a grant, and that grant enabled us to fill 100 cans with our new upcoming raspberry cherry zero sugar recipe. Just a fortnight ago, I drove down to Gloucester and filled 100 cans. I was there for the entire day. And this has enabled us to essentially show and sample that new recipe with potential buyers and stockists and investors, and also enable me and my customers from the old version ship the new samples to existing customers and ask them what they really think of the new recipe. So it's been really good for us where research and development is concerned. It's enabled us to iron out any potential creases before we go ahead with a commercial production run in September. So I'm really grateful to have received that grant. The City of Bradford has been great. Telegraph and Argos have featured me multiple times now, as well as the Asian Standard. The local press have been really good to me, and good exposure, which we then use on our LinkedIn company page. A fortnight ago, I met Tracy Brabin, the West Yorkshire Mayor. We had a great conversation and even a short video together of me talking about the new version of Faraday and the resealable technology. Bradford University continues to support me, always, tweeting about my workings. They've even featured me on their LinkedIn page. I'm in touch with the heads of Bradford University School of Management department, which has been really good, and their careers department, of course. Also, we've got 3 final year students at Bradford University doing their final year thesis project for Faraday. It's really going to help us out where market research is concerned. Bradford Grammar School, my former high school, have been really supportive, featuring my workings and connecting me with their alumni. So we look forward to launching in September of this resealable can concept with the raspberry cherry zero sugar. And with regards to the future, well, in September we'll be launching half still, half carbonated. So it'll be really interesting to see how sales go on the still versus carbonated variant of Faraday's new version. We look forward to launching further flavors, as well as expanding the whole still versus carbonated lineup. But we will also be seeking a large-scale investment to enable us to scale and attain stockists with larger retailers, as well as expand our Amazon presence, as well as exporting to countries like the USA, where we've also landed the trademark for Faraday.